On this episode of Turning Point Tactics, I'm going to be reviewing the Approved Ops card pack for 2025 for Kill Team, the new season of Kill Team's match play rules set. Talk about the differences between the 2025 card pack and the 2024 card pack. Run through all of that and just talk through what the main changes are between the two editions so that you can go into the new edition ready and prepared. So with all that said, let's get straight into it and talk about Approved Ops 2025. Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Kill Team 40k YouTube channel focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm here to help give you the tips and tricks that elevate every part of your Kill Team experience. So no matter if you're a casual or a competitive player, there should be something here for you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a few ways you can go about doing so. You can join the Patreon, where you get access to members only Discord, Patreon priority questions, early access to content, exclusive content, and tournament awards. Or if you find yourself buying Kill Team goodies or hobby supplies, you can use one of our affiliate links in the description below, or discount codes with Crossfire Games and GG Prints. We're always keen to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't leave that comment box empty. Let us know what you think. Once again, thanks for your support, and with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so for ease, I've got everything out and I'll talk through it all and show you the cards individually when it makes sense. But I just will begin with what this is. So this is the match play rule set for Kill Team, where pretty much all of your games in Kill Team will probably be played using this, with the exception of some narrative events. But most games that I've seen all run the match play games that are in this. That's both the casual games I get involved in as well as the competitive. And this is the new mission sets for that. So I expect pretty much every tournament globally to pick these up as soon as they're released in a couple of weeks after this video comes out. So you'll get the pre-orders straight away. So let's talk through the differences between the two. So this is the old card deck and this is the new one. So just straight up so you can see it, it is slightly bigger, not by much. And I think that's purely to do with the additional map key bits that you get. Other than that, you still get 3 Tac Ops for each of the archetypes. You still get your 6 primary op cards, 2 of each. So if you're playing with a friend, you can use them. You get your Approved Ops mission pack sequence. You get these new cards, which are in the changes to the way essentially the scouting initiative works. So that's new. You still get your kill op card. You still get your 9 missions, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to talk through each bit sequentially, show you what the main changes are, and hopefully you guys will be able to get a taster for what this is like. And I'm going to try and give a bit of a thought and analysis as to how I see some of the meta changing as a result of these changes, which are pretty damn significant, if I'm honest. Just a quick added note: if you are looking to buy Approved Ops 2025 and you want to save some money, in the description below there is affiliate links with providers in the UK, US, Australia, Canada. So you can use that affiliate link and then you'll be able to get a discount on your purchase, and just by purchasing it you'll also be able to support the channel, which would be really appreciated. So if you're looking at picking this up, then I would suggest using one of those discount codes and affiliate links if possible, or go to GW and pay full price if you want to do that as well. Totally up to you. All right, so let's get started on this. So we've got quite a lot to cover. We've got Tac Ops to cover. We've got missions to cover. I might try and break this down in separate videos as well for people. But I just want to get into the broad overall changes. So let's start with the actual Approved Ops mission pack. So there is changes to the way the core game is played. And that's really, I guess, important for people to know. So first up, Crit Op remains the same, Kill Op remains the same. And I'll just show you the Kill Op card here. It's exactly the same as the previous Kill Op card, right? And it's the same ruling. So if you move up the kill grade, you're going to get an extra point. At the end of the battle, if your kill grade is higher than your opponent, you score an extra point. An interesting thing to note is Raveners came out and they were the first kill grade 5 team. We've now going to be seeing more kill grade 5 teams. So actually this bit at the bottom will be more commonly used, which is interesting to see. But Kill Op, as far as you need to know, is the same. Tac Ops have completely changed. So all of them are different. There is no Tac Ops that have existed from the previous into the new. So everyone's going to have to learn how to play their team differently with different Tac Ops and different Crit Ops, albeit the Kill Op has remained the same. Primary Op has remained exactly the same. So it's exactly as you did before. Strategic Gambit, the first turning point, you're going to select which one of these you want to go with. But what I will say is, previously, most of the time, I'd say 90% of games, with the exception of a few missions, you're always going to be selecting Tac Op, unless your team was really bad at Tac Op, or you're on a mission where Crit Op was really good. I think like Compile, I think Coordinates was an example where Crit Op would be worthwhile taking. I think now, like, it's going to be harder to choose. Most of the time, I still think you're going to be going for Tac Op, but people might be more swayed in towards Kill Op. And a lot of the Crit Ops are quite low scoring. So there's a bit more discussion to be had on this. I'm going to do a tactics video for patrons where I talk about the new missions. But yeah, a little bit more to talk about on that. But the primary ops stuff has stayed the same. So Kill Ops same, primary ops same, Crit Ops have changed, Tac Ops have changed. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through the sequence of the game and try and highlight the bits where it's different. So when you turn up at a table, you need to select a kill team. That just means that you choose that I'm going to play, let's say, Deathwatch today, and my opponent's going to play Raveners or whatever it is it's going to be. Or if you turn up to a tournament, you've made this decision before you arrive at the tournament, right? So you submitted whichever tournament it is. You then determine your kill zone and set up terrain features. Again, if you're at a tournament, that's probably all predetermined and pre-set up. So you just turn up and just play whatever it is that you're on. Determine one shared Crit Op and set up objective markers other than kill zone based Decima or objective markers of the kill zone floor. Yep, makes perfect sense. So there is new map layouts for like some of the I'll show you now. So for some of the environments, you have new map layouts. So first up, you have the generic ones. So non-specific kill zone maps, looks like that, fine. Nothing too exciting there, but if you were using, I don't know, let's say you had Octarius terrain or something like that and you wanted to put it there yourself, you could do so with that, and you could use them. Then we have some more to go through. So we have Into the Dark, and you'll notice as soon as you start looking at Into the Dark maps that they are exactly the same as the last approved ops. So all Into the Dark have not changed, which is probably going to be a big sad for a lot of people. I think people are going to be disappointed by this because they were expecting this all to change. That's because they did sort of tell us that Into the Dark wouldn't be supported when the new terrain set comes out. So they've clearly supported it in the sense that they've included the maps as part of the approved ops sort of system, but the maps are no longer changing. So I assume that means they're not going to change them again in future, which I think is probably a bad thing because I think people would have liked this to be refreshed. So you might see some community maps getting refreshed. But what has changed is, because it's still part of the competitive season, is Beta Decima. So Beta Decima has a bunch of new layouts. There is a few bits that I think potentially are incorrect. So the way they've color coded this is probably worth just showing you. So the black one is supposed to be on the center line. The orange one is your orange deployment zone territory marker, and the grey one is your grey deployment zone territory marker, right? So that's the way it's supposed to sort of go. Now, map 5, I'm not quite sure what's happened here, but clearly this is on the center line, the grey objective, where it shouldn't be, because it should be in this half, because it's the grey objective. And then the center objective is actually not in the center of the battlefield, but instead it's off in the water. So I don't think this map is actually playable. I don't know if it's missing a segment somewhere, but essentially, you can't play this map. Also, like it doesn't have the bit in the middle either. So I don't know, like it doesn't have a walkway through the middle to let this, like this might have worked if it had a walkway, so you could then get here, but you can't get there, and it doesn't work. So that map's not playable, but the rest of them are fine. You all probably know my thoughts on Beta Decima, so I'm not going to get too into the weeds of it, but I don't see myself playing this too much. But there'll be some tournaments that still run it. But new maps for Beta Decima, if you are a Beta Decima fan, good news. if you're an ITD fan and wanted new ITD maps, probably a bad news story. But I imagine there'll be some. I imagine that the community will release some new ITD maps as a result of GW having not done. Okay, Volcus. So this is what people will probably play the most of, is the new Volcus maps, right? So map 1, as you can see, like a completely different layout to what you had previously. They really have tried to like move stuff around in these maps as you go through, and I've played one of the games. It felt a lot better. There's much larger shooting lanes now, because I guess what you can't see here is these bits here are clearly not too tall, so you can actually get like lines across the map, albeit obscured, through places like this. And then if we go into like this next one, you just have some more shooting angles. So from over here, you can essentially draw a shooting lane directly through this map, all the way over to here, which is it opens it up a lot more to previous. And I'll just go through and show you these ones, so you can see what else you can play. So yeah, so nice to see new Volcus maps. I will get more playtime with them soon and let you know how they play. I played this one here, map 5. I think it played pretty well. I didn't have any major issues. There's clearly sides that are better or worse. The fact that they pushed the main stronghold so much further back means that rather than them being up here, like all the way up here, and then pushing onto the center line, the middle of the board was a bit more open than it did previously. But they have locked off these objectives kind of with like the L shape in this way, so you can't shoot from this objective into this objective that easily. But you're getting these larger sight lines throughout the sort of out of the map. So if you ignore obscurity, you can get sight lines across here. If you don't ignore obscurity, you can get sight lines across the center of the board. This is all light terrain in the middle. And then you can stage on these bits to be able to get out and in. So I quite enjoyed this map. It was quite different. And then map 6, you can clearly see, again, really different take and style. No real stronghold on this side of the map. Access to this stronghold nice and easily. Access to the tower really easily on this side of the map. But then you're going to have to find difficulty getting visibility potentially to areas over here, which is going to be hidden by this. So to me, this side of the map feels like it's a lot stronger, but there's potentially better staging over on this side of the map. So like really interesting. Actually, I think this will breathe a massive breath of fresh air into Volcus, because I think everyone's excited to play new Volcus layouts rather than the same 6 that they've always played. Then obviously, we have New Kill Zone. I'm not going to go into too much detail on New Kill Zone because I'll talk about it in the Tomb Mold release. But essentially, you've got these sort of new ITD layouts, but with the new Kill Zone kits. And they've got a whole bunch of special rules, teleport pads, all this sort of stuff, which all makes sense. Bit of like scatter terrain that are in there as well. I think it's going to hopefully play as a better version of ITD. I assume GW is hoping that pretty much everyone puts ITD away and just moves on to Tomb World. But there is a hope that we're going to have now 4 different terrain sets in circulation. So you'll have your Volcus, you'll have your ITD, you'll have your Tomb World, and you'll have your Beta Decima, which should give some good variety for people looking to try and do more things. Obviously, as per usual, you get the standard cards just explaining what the different bits are for all the terrain. So you can see, what's going on here. You understand there's a sarcophagus, there's some debris, there's a teleport pad, there's access points, there's a wall end, what the various things are labeled as, etc., etc. So pretty cool. Note here, spoiler, they've got breaching points on these walls, so you can get through it in different ways. So some cool, interesting rules to go with the new Tomb World stuff. Most of this remains the same though for you to see, but new maps. So completely new way of playing on the maps. Awesome, that's a good start. Where do we get to? Not that far in. So we're going to set up the terrain as accordance with this. Then both of you are going to do a roll off. And this is where I'm going to be trying to be as specific as possible with my language so you understand where the differences lie. So you do the roll off, the winner decides who has initiative. The player with initiative selects one drop zone. Their opponent has the other drop zone and gains the reroll initiative card. So down here, you're going to see that we have these new cards that have come out. with sort of +3, +2, +1, and reroll. The reason why you only get one set per deck, because you can play essentially with two teams in this deck, but you only need one of these cards per sort of game, if that makes sense, because you're not able to duplicate these cards during the game. But yes, you're going to get this reroll initiative card, right? So you'll get to keep that if you don't have initiative on on that initial roll. Not if you lose the roll off, but if you don't have initiative. So important to note. And then you're going to choose your operatives as you do usually. You're going to choose your 4 equipment options as you would do usually. And you're going to start with 2 CP as you would do usually. The core rules, remember, you're going to add 1 CP on the first turning point. So on the first turning point, you're going to be up to 3 CP. And then for each subsequent turning point, if you don't have initiative, you're going to get 2 CP. If you do, you're just going to get 1. Then you're going to choose your Tac Ops. So you've chosen your equipment, you haven't set up, then you are going to choose your Tac Ops before you set up your equipment, all right? So that's how all that goes down. Also, key to note, there is no scouting cards, therefore there's no option to get any more equipment than what you already have, or if your kill team, like Elicidian Star Striders or Death Watch, lets you take additional equipment. So just be aware of that. Like you're not going to be able to place a barricade because you messed up your deployment as a safety step in the scouting step. Kind of big. Then you're going to set up operatives exactly as you did equipment first, exactly as you did before, alternating by items, not by selections, i.e. if you select 2 light barricades, you place 1 light barricade, then your opponent places something, then you place your other light barricade. And then you're going to do the by thirds, set up your kill team, holding a drop zone, giving a concealed order. All right, so pretty much this the standard way of going with that. This is where it's then different. So previously, everyone would just do a scouting step, and then you would do your result with the sort of rock paper scissors option, and that would be determining who gets first turn. That's now gone. You're going to do a roll off, right? So you're going to do a standard roll off. And the winner of the roll-off is going to choose who goes first, right? And who has initiative. But the loser of the roll-off is going to get a card. So this is the difference, right? Is if you lose the roll-off, i.e. I roll a 1 and your opponent rolls a 6, I will get the +1, -1 to my initiative roll, irrespective of if the opponent makes me go first or second, right? So the ability to choose is different to the value of what the cards are getting. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. If you draw and you get a tie, whoever didn't have initiative for the last event now gains initiative. So that carries on over from the first roll off, right? So that's kind of how it works. So ties remain broken by whoever didn't have it last time. But you're then going to get these cards. So you roll off, and let's say, hypothetically, I rolled a 3 and you're playing against me and you roll a 4. You get to choose if I go first or if I go second. But me, because I lost that roll off, I'm going to get this +1 to initiative to my roll. Now note, you could use the reroll initiative card if you wanted to be able to re-roll that. And so maybe I want to re-roll it. I probably don't. But in a hypothetical world, if you had the re-roll card, you might want to re-roll it to force me to get this +1, maybe. I don't know. Whatever it is you want to do. Cool. Now, there's a bit of here where it explains how it all works essentially, because you're going to end up with quite a few of these these cards as the game goes on. So it starts with the player who is losing, all right? And if you're losing, you have to choose if you want to use these cards first. And then it's essentially like strategic ploys. You either pass or you play. If you play, then the result gets changed, either plus or minus, and you do your reroll. Note that if you've done a plus and then do a reroll, you're locked on what the new result is, not the previous result. And you can modify above a 6 or below a 1. So really interesting, changes. It now means that being able to subtract from your initiative score like makes sense, because you might not want to have the decision to go first or second, because you'd rather have a larger +2, -2, +3, -3 result for a subsequent turning point. So if you're in a position where you're agnostic of if you go first or second, then it might be better for you to use a reroll or let your opponent do whatever, do a -1 to make your opponent win or choose. So big change to how that initiative works. And this just kind of it explains essentially the rest of that. Cool. So that's at the end of the turning point 1 initiative roll. End of the turning point 2 initiative roll, you're going to get a +or -2. End of the turning point 3 initiative roll, you get a +or -3. And it can have quite significant effects for what your odds are of winning. And what I'll do is on the Patreon, I'll just chuck a little table that shows you all of the percentage odds of the various scenarios if you have these various cards, so you know what the likelihood is of you getting initiative or not getting initiative, and you can start to make a bit of a game plan on it. But essentially, if you've got a reroll and a +or -1 is slightly better than a +or -2 sort of thing, is the way to look at it, but not by much. I'll do the odds, as I said, on that's with Tiebreak as well. I'll do the odds, as I said, on Patreon so you guys can see those. But that is a significant change to the way that the approved ops play. Note you get the same amount of CP as you did previously, so you're essentially choosing for CP and to go second, or you're choosing for the ability to go first and maybe rack up some more kills or that sort of thing. So that's the initiative changes. All right, we'll talk about Tac Ops in a second. We're going to just go through the crit ops quickly. So, as I said, I'm going to do a bit more of a deep dive on the Patreon for this because I've just got a bit more of an analysis. But I just want to show you guys quickly what these crit ops are, so you get an understanding and an overview of the crit ops themselves. So, first thing you'll notice, you have the standard mission actions, but some of them now do not have mission actions. So that's going to be a subtly different way of playing, and some of them have more expensive mission actions, and some of them have 2 different types of mission actions, and some of them have 2 AP mission actions. All right, so let's just go through the nice and easy ones. Secure, this is exactly the same as it was previously. So you're going to spend an AP to make an objective become your objective until someone spends an AP to take it away. If you have one that is yours, you score a VP. If you have more than your opponent, you score 2 VP. Nice and easy. So if your opponent doesn't control any and you control 1, you're going to get 2 VP. Nice. Loot, exactly the same as it was previously. It's a 1 AP action, all right? Each time you perform this action, you're going to get a VP. You can't do it again on the same objective marker each turning point. It can only be done once. And therefore, it's a nice, simple, fast tempo mission. There you go. Transmission works exactly the same as it did previously. So you spend an AP, that objective is now transmitting. If you control that objective at the end of the turning point, you're going to score a VP. So if you control any transmitting objective markers, you score 1. If you control more transmitting objective markers than any objectives do, you score 2. So if your opponent doesn't transmit on any, and you just transmit on 1, that's going to get you 2 VP. If you're both transmitting on 1, you both get 1 VP. If you're transmitting on 2 and your opponent's getting transmitting on 1, and you control those, then you're going to get 2 and they're going to get 1. Nice and easy. All right, we're now into the new missions. So there's now 6 new missions that are very different to the old missions, and they are a little bit less scoring on average as well. So orb, start of the battle, the center marker is going to have the orb token. So the objective right in the middle has the orb. You can then do this mission action, which is to move that orb token, right? So essentially, if it's on the center marker, you can move it either direction to a player objective marker. So if you wanted to, weirdly, you could make it move back towards your own objective, if that made sense, or you can push it towards your opponent's objective. And then if it's on a player marker, you can move it back to the center. Cool. Now you can't do it during the first turning point, so it's going to stay there till turning point 2. You can't do it in control range of any operatives, or if it doesn't control the objective marker that has the orb token, right? So kind of what we're expecting for this kind of 1 AP action, right? But essentially, you can see that you're able to move this orb between objective markers. Scoring point then, at the end of each turning point after the first, so turning point 2, 3, and 4, for each objective marker that friendly operatives control that doesn't have the orb token, you score 1 VP. Nice. So there's only 2 VP a turn available for crit op at number 4. Orb. There you go. You're playing like a giant game of, I don't know, ping pong or bounce the ball, whatever it is. Next up, stake claim. At the start of the gambit step of each strategy phase, after the first, starting with the player with initiative, each player must select both one objective marker and one of the following claims for that turning point. Friendly operatives will control that objective marker at the end of this turning point. Enemy operatives won't contest that objective marker at the end of this turning point. Each player cannot select each objective marker more than once per battle, so they must select each objective marker once during the battle. Now, interestingly, most of the time I think you're going to go for this control option, but I can see some niche cases for using this, but it's kind of counterintuitive to this down here. At the end of each turning point, right? At the end of each turning point, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives do, score 1 VP. If your claim is true, score 1 VP. So I just want to make this really clear here. You are going to make a claim each turning point after the first, but at the end of turning point 1, at the end of each turning point, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives, you score 1 VP. Stake claim, you can score 1 VP in turning point 1. Just the 1 VP, but you can score 1 VP in turning point 1. You can then score 2 VP, each subsequent turning point to a maximum of 6 VP, with your claims being correct. Now, note that you're going to have to choose different objective markers every time. So you're going to have to basically make sure that probably on turn, let's say, turn 1, you could say I'm going to control my home objective. Turn 2, you could say I'm going to control the center objective. Turn 3, you're going to say I'm going to control my opponent's objective, and that kind of makes sense. But you might want to save the contest one. If you're a low body count team, you might instead want to say turning point 1, I'm going to control the center objective, and turning point 2, I'm going to control my opponent's objective. Turning point 3, I don't think my enemies will contest my home objective. Is an option if you think they're not going to be able to make it there. So yeah, all right. So that's stake claim. Interesting that you can score this TP1, but only 1 VP, but still there. Next up, energy cells. So operatives can perform the pickup marker action upon each objective marker in the following turning point. So you can't perform this in turning point 2, but you can perform it in 2, 3, and 4. So if you do it in turning point 2, you must spend an additional 2 AP. That action cannot be free, and its AP cannot be reduced. So a pickup marker action is 1 APL. You must spend an additional 2 AP. So therefore, to do this, it is 3 APL for you to pick up a marker in turning point 2. Just for awareness, that's what you do. And you can't reduce it, and you can't do it for free. So like it's 3 APL to do that. That's a lot of APL investment. It's going to get cheaper each turning point thereafter, right? So in turning point 3, it's going to cost you 2 APL. In turning point 4, it's going to cost you 1 APL. Now, whenever you're carrying an objective marker, you cannot be removed and set up again more than 6 inches away. So I'm not aware of a ability to teleport more than 6 inches. I guess other than maybe warp coven, you might be able to achieve that in a way. But yeah, so anyway, but you can't run away. But this for me says that there's probably some team out there that's going to be doing some crazy teleport shenanigans in future. Fun. All right, victory points then. At the end of each turning point, if friendly operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives do, you score 1 VP. So you can't pick up the energy cell on turning point 1, but on turning point 1 you can control more objective markers than your opponent and therefore score on turning point 1. So, and that's each turning point, right? So you can essentially get 4 VP from this first caveat, 1 for each turning point. At the end of the battle, for each objective marker friendly optives are carrying, you score 1 VP. So now you're getting a total of 4 from this, and then there's obviously 3 available from the objective markers, so you'll get 7 VP available from that one. But you can score that in turning point 1. That is energy cells. Cool. Next up is download. Okay, so download mission action. 1 center or opponent's objective marker that active operative controls is downloaded. You can't do this during the first, second turning points, or while within control range of any operative, or if that objective marker has already been downloaded during the battle, right? So you can only download it once. You can't download your home one. You can only download your opponent's or the center. Cool. So at the end of each turning point after the first, if for any operatives control more objective markers than enemy operatives do, you score 1 VP. Ignore downloaded objective markers when determining this. So there's a total potentially of 3 VP here, but more likely it's going to be turning point 2 and turning point 3, where you're going to get 2. If during turning point 3, so whenever friendly operative performs a download action during the third turning point, you score 1 VP. So if you do the center objective and your opponent's objective on the third turning point, you get 1 VP for each. But note that you're now not going to count any downloaded objective markers, so you now might not be getting this first VP caveat. And then whenever an operative performs a download action during the fourth turning point, you score 2 VP. So essentially, there is 4 VP available to you on the table if you download the center and your opponents, and then you can do a turn 2 and turn 3 to get your 6 VP if you control more than your opponent on this. So there is a way for you to max, but it's just a very low scoring game, and it's heavily weighted towards this fourth turning point. So that is download. All right, let's look at data then. So 2 different mission actions on data. I'll just talk you through how it works. So compile data. 1 objective marker that active operative controls gains 1 data point. Use dice as a token to keep track of all data points of that objective marker. You can't do this action during the first turning point if your control range is enemy operative, or if that objective marker has already gained a data point during this turning point. So basically it's kind of like upload like it was previously. You're just adding to the value, or intel I guess, probably the better one. You're adding to the value of that marker each turning point. You can send data. So if you do that, you remove all data points from objective marker and you're going to score some points. You cannot do this during the first, second, or third turning point. So you need to do this action on the fourth turning point only. Really important you make it to the last turning point. You can't do it with engagement range, or if an objective marker doesn't have any data points to remove. Cool. At the end of the second and third turning point, if friendly operatives have performed more compiled data actions during the turning point than any operatives, you score 1 VP. So there's 3 objective markers on the board. Let's say I compile 2 of them and you compile 1. I'm going to get a VP because I have done more compiled data actions than you. And therefore I'll get that during the turning point. Whenever a friendly operative performs a send data action, you score a number of VP equal to the number of data points removed. So let's say throughout the game on turning point 2, on turning point 3, and on turning point 4, I have hit compile data on my home objective. If my next action is to send data, then that will get me 3 VP because these are 2 separate actions. So I can compile data on the 4th turning point and then immediately send data to get me an extra VP. All right, so that's the way that works. So you can essentially, potentially, you can get 9 VP from the objective markers, and then a further 2 VP from the compile data actions, whoever's done it more during turning point 2 and during turning point 3. So that's your options there. So 11 VP on the cards. Finally, mission 9, reboot. So when setting up the battle, after setting up objective markers, number each objective marker 1, 2, and 3. At the start of the gambit step of each strategy phase, each player secretly selects 1 objective marker by putting a number of dice in their hand that corresponds to the objective marker's number. They then reveal their selection simultaneously. If both players selected the same one, that objective marker is inert during this turning point. If not, the objective marker that neither player selected is inert during this turning point. Then you have a 2 AP action. So 2 AP action, one inert objective marker, the active option controls, is no longer inert. You can't do it in control range, and you can't do it during the first turning point. Makes perfect sense. At the end of each turning point after the first, for each objective marker, friendly option control, you score 1 VP. Ignore inert markers when determining this. So essentially, you have like a little strategic gamble. It's complete gambling. You're going to put a random number of dice in your hands. You both do the same thing. It then tells you one of the markers is turned off. The gamble then plays off, and you can undo that mess by spending 2 APL to turn the objective marker back on. That's objective 9. Those are all the crit ops. So we just now have Tac Ops to go through. So let's go and talk about the Tac Ops. Alrighty. So everyone knew previously that sort of recon was the best. Seek and destroy was good if you were playing elites. And security was pretty good if you were a horde and you outnumbered people. And infiltration was not the best, and you kind of struggled to score most, and everyone sort of settled on implant because it was probably the best of the bad bunch. These are now completely changed. I think they are in ways harder to score for some teams, but I would probably say generically they are better for hordes if you're playing against elites, and better for elites if you're playing against hordes. They are worse for elites versus elites, and worse for hordes versus hordes. Is probably how I'm going to say that. They play very differently. Everyone's going to have to figure out how to get used to these new Tac Ops. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'll start with the Seek and Destroy, because I think that's probably what people want to see. You know, how do we kill stuff, right? So this is the Sweep and Clear from the Seek and Destroy one. They also have Rout, and they also have Dominate. So we'll start with this one. So you reveal this the first time any operative is incapacitated while contesting an objective marker, or the first time a friendly operative performs a clear action, whichever comes first. So this relies you to have enemies on objective markers for you to be able to score points, essentially. When an enemy operative that contests an objective marker is incapacitated, that objective marker gains one of your swept tokens if it doesn't already have one, until the ready step of the next strategy phase. So as far as I understand, you're only going to be able to put one token on this. So if multiple enemies die, it's just going to have one token. You can perform mission action, which is clear. An objective marker that active operative controls is cleared for the turning point. You can't do it during the first turning point or while within control of an enemy operative. Nice. So 1 AP action. If someone dies, you're going to get a token, and you're going to put another token if you clear it. At the end of each turning point after the first, if friendly operatives control any objective markers that have one of your swept tokens, that means you've killed someone on it, you score 1 VP. If this is true and any of those objective markers are also cleared, you score 2 VP instead. You cannot score more than 2 VP from this op per turning point. So you want someone to die, then you want to spend a mission action on that objective, and then you're going to be able to score 2 VP. I personally think that these should be the other way around. So I think you should score 1 VP if you clear an objective marker, i.e. you go up to it and you clear it. And then it becomes 2 VP if someone dies on it. And this should be like the center objective or your opponent's objective, but fine. This feels like it's going to be hard to do because you need a cooperative opponent to come onto the objective marker, which some of the missions you're going to get that, but some of the missions you're not, and then you're also relying on actually killing that model as well. So if it's like, as I said, like against elites, I think this might not do too well because you need to kill an elite to be able to actually achieve it, and they might not have that many elites for you to kill, and you need to kill one each turning point to get your points. So, okay, cool. Sweep and clear. Next up, route. Reveal this the first time you score VP from this op. Victory points, whenever a friendly operative incapacitates an enemy operative, If that friendly operative is within, not wholly within, just within 6 inches of your opponent's drop zone, you score 1 VP. If this is true, and the enemy operative had a wound stat of 12 or more, you score 2 VP instead. You cannot score more than 2 VP from his op per turning point. I think this is a really good op. It's pretty solid. It lets you play into both elites and into horde teams. If you think you're going to be able to routinely kill 2 models at a turning point and you want to be aggressive in your opponent's face, route looks like a solid option to be able to pick up kills, and somewhat low risk that you can be scoring it throughout the turning point. So you're not like waiting for something to happen at the end of the turning point in an all-in mentality. So a pretty good tac op. Now we're into dominate. Reveal, the first time an enemy operative is incapacitated by a friendly operative. So this could happen on turning point 1, right? So turning point 1, you could start picking up these dominate tokens. Each time a friendly operative incapacitates an enemy operative, that friendly operative gains 1 of your dominate tokens. Cool. So you want to collect these tokens, and then at the end of the 3rd and 4th turning point, you can remove dominate tokens from friendly operatives that aren't incapacitated. For each you remove, you score 1 VP. You cannot score more than 3 VP from this op per turning point. So essentially, you want to remove, you want to have a late game sort of survival strategy so that in turn 3 and 4, you're removing 3 VP in turn 3 and 3 VP in turn 4, such that you now have like a high scoring swing at the end of the game. If you know you're going to be playing a cagey game turn 1 and turn 2 where you're not going to be able to score anything, dominate might be the way forwards, because you can pick up all of your VP in turn 3 and turn 4. So you can do a late game achievement to be able to get this. That cannot be said about these two. These require you to score each turning point. If I was to sort of like rate them, I think this is probably the best, then dominate, then sweep and clear. But I'll do a bit more of a tactics dive, generically talking about those, and when you might want to change between dominate and route, in my opinion. Cool. That is Seek and Destroy. Let's see security. Everyone likes security. Makes perfect sense. We're going to start with the plant banner tac op. You reveal this when you perform the plant banner action. 1 AP action, place your banner mission marker within the active operative's control range, wholly within your opponent's territory, and more than 5 inches from a neutral kill zone edge. Operatives can perform the pickup marker action on your banner mission marker. Now it's operatives, not friendly operatives, so enemy operatives can pick up your banner as well as friendly operatives, just to be aware. Additionally, an operative cannot perform this action during the first turning point, fine, while within control range of an operative, fine, or if a friendly operative has already performed this action during the battle. So there is only ever 1 banner for you in the game, right? Once you've placed it, you have placed it. The restriction of 5 inches from neutral kill zone edge means that you're sort of forced more into the middle of the board because you lose 5 inches on either side, so you can't place it right on a flank out of the way. It has to be somewhere somewhat important. But nothing here does it say that you can't put it on vantage, so you could try and put it somewhere that's like really high up, I guess. Victory points though, at the end of each turn point after the first, if your banner mission marker is wholly within your opponent's territory and friendly operatives control, you score 1 VP. If that's true and no enemy operatives contest it, you score 2 VP instead. Note, your banner mission marker must be in the kill zone score, not being carried. So you can't like place it, then pick it up and then say I control it, away you go. You have to like stick it in the ground, Dawn of War style, and you have to then be hanging around it to be able to score it, and you have to kill anyone that comes near it, because if they just get within 1 inch of it, they're going to contest it, and you're only getting 1 VP. So really interesting tac op. I can see it's being played by a lot of people. It's really good, I think, if you out-activate your opponent, where you can run up and just stick a banner down right in their face, and there's not much they can do about it if you out-activate them. Okay, next up, Martyrs. Reveal. The first time a friendly operative is incapacitated while contesting an objective marker. Whenever a friendly operative is incapacitated while contesting an objective marker, that marker gains 1 of your Martyr tokens. At the end of each turning point after the first, if friendly operatives contest an objective marker that has 1 or more of your Martyr tokens, you can remove any of those tokens. For each token you remove it in this way, you score 1 VP. If friendly operatives also control that objective marker, you score 2 VP instead. You cannot score more than 2 from this, per turning point. All right, so you need friendlies to die on an objective marker. If 2 people die on it, you get there, you can just contesting it. You can just take those 2 tokens off, and you'll get 2 VP. If 2 people die on it, but you control the objective rather than just contest it, you can take one of those tokens off, and you can score 2 VP. So I can kind of see this like being good for like a Vet Guard style team where you've got bodies that you don't care about, and you just want to stack tokens on the center and your opponent's objective markers, and then are having to decide like, all right, well, if I control it, I'm going to get more VP, or if I contest it, you get less, but you lose these tokens. Kind of hard to score though, unless you're like a big body count team and you don't mind losing people. But yeah, that's Martyrs. Next is Envoy. So the first time you select an Envoy, you reveal this as a strategic gambit. In each turning point after the first, select one friendly operative to be your Envoy until the ready step of the next strategy phase. You cannot select an operative you selected during a previous turning point. It has to be 3 different operatives to do this, so not so good for elite teams. At the end of each turning point after the first, if Envoy is wholly in your enemy's territory and not within control range of any operatives, you score 1 VP. If this is true and he hasn't lost any wounds during that turning point, you score 2 VP. So I just want to just make this out here. So you can immediately deny any VP with this if you can get someone in their control range, and you can deny another VP or like by shooting them and then them having taken some damage, they're not going to max it. I think this is fantastic if you heavily out activate your opponent and you can just run a body across the center line at the end of the turning point. And if you're not out activating your opponent, I think it's garbage. So I think if you're an elite player, I don't think you ever want to play Envoy unless you're somehow out activating your fellow elite player. But I think if you're a Horde player, this looks fab. So good for larger bodied teams, I would suggest. That is security. All right, let's go infiltrate. Everyone wants to infiltrate. Okay, so 3 more again. Steal intelligence, track enemy plant devices. All right, so steal intelligence. Reveal the first time an enemy operative is incapacitated. Additional rules. Whenever an enemy operative is incapacitated, before it's removed from the kill zone, place one of your intelligence mission markers within its control range. Friendly operatives can perform the pickup marker action on your intelligence mission markers, and for the purposes of the action's conditions, ignore the first intelligence mission marker that active operative is carrying. In other words, each friendly operative can carry 2 intelligence mission markers, or 1 and 1 other marker. At the end of each turning point after the first, if any friendly operatives are carrying any of your intelligence mission markers, you score 1 VP. At the end of the battle, for each of your intelligence mission markers friendly operatives are carrying, you score 1 VP. So this is kind of like a confirmed kill, but you can get a big late game swing if you wanted to. So there is no restriction on this bit here. So at the end of the battle, for each of your intelligence mission markers friendly operatives carrying, score 1 VP. So if you were carrying 6 mission markers at the end, you're going to get 6. But clearly, if you're throughout the turning points, you can also get some by just carrying them during the turning points. So you're going to kill enemies, you're going to pick up the bit that they drop, and then you want to try and keep it during the end of the turning point. And if you do that, and then into the end of the battle, you're going to get more VP. Pretty decent one. I quite like it versus weaker opponents. We're just going to drop lots of these, and if you've got spare APL to pick up these tokens. Next up, track enemy. Reveal the first time you score VP from this op. So the first time you score VP. Additional rules. An enemy operative is being tracked if it's a valid target for a friendly operative within 6 inches of it. That friendly operative must have a concealed order, cannot be a valid target for the enemy operative it is attempting to track, and cannot be within control range of enemy operatives. At the end of each turning point after the first, if 1 enemy operative is being tracked, you score 1 VP, or 2 VP instead if it's the 4th turning point. If 2 or more enemy operatives are being tracked, you score 2 VP. So this is really interesting. Essentially, you're going to like sneak up again. If you out activate your opponent, this is far better. If you're like within 6 inches and on a conceal order, and you do that in 2 different places, you're going to score 2 VP. And it's actually, if you out activate people, really easy for you to score track enemy. So I think that's a pretty strong tac op for infiltrate, in my opinion. Finally, plant devices. Reveal the first time a friendly operative performs the plant device action. The action itself, plant device, 1 AP, one of your objective markers, the active control gains one of your device tokens. So one of the central 1, 2, or 3 objective markers that are on the board. You cannot perform this action during the first turning point. You cannot do it while within control range of any operative, or if that objective marker already has one of your device tokens. Makes sense. And then victory points. At the end of each turning point after the first, this is 2, 3, and 4 scoring. If your opponent objective marker has one of your device tokens, you score 1 VP. So your opponent's objective marker, i.e. the one in their half, if you can, let's say, have a ploy that lets you do a mission action irrespective of APL control, whatever, then you can potentially do that on turning point 2, and you're guaranteed to get 3 VP from this via that single action. For each other objective marker enemy operatives contest that has one of the device tokens, you score 1 VP. Note contest. So essentially, if you bug up all of the objective markers, including your opponent's objective marker, your opponent has to decide if they want to play crit op or if they want to just give you VP on your tac op. Really interesting play this. I think Crew and Rattlings will like plant devices, in my opinion. Just because it's inevitable and they can guarantee VP. All right, finally we are into the recon cards and we're coming towards the end of approved ops. So let's go through the last few bits. Okay, scout enemy movement. Reveal the first time a friendly operative performs a scout action. Scout action is a 1 AP action. Select one ready enemy operative visible to and more than 6 inches from the active operative. That enemy operative is now monitored until the end of the ready step of the next strategy phase. You can't perform this action while it has an engage order, during the first turning point, or while within control range of an enemy operative. So you have to be on conceal, you have to do it to readied operatives, you can't do people who've already activated, and you have to be more than 6 inches away. So again, good for horde teams if you're going to be able to out-activate people and make it so people have to go to certain places. At the end of each turning point after the first, for each monitored enemy operative that is visible to friendly operatives, you score 1 VP. Note that it doesn't have to be a friendly operative that performed the scout action. You cannot score more than 2 VP per turning point. So essentially, you can monitor your entire enemy's team if you want to, and then you'll just score points based on the fact that if they're visible to your team. So kind of cool. You can't be on engage though. It has to be a ready operative so they get a chance to run away and hide themselves afterwards. And you have to do it on conceal. There you go. Retrieval. All right, retrieval. So the first time you score VP from this op, you do a mission action, retrieve. If the active operative controls an objective marker that hasn't been searched by friendly operatives, that operative is now carrying one of your retrieval mission markers, and that operative's marker has been searched by friendly operatives. Friendly operatives can perform the pickup marker action on your retrieval mission markers. You can't do it in the first turning point or while within control range of an enemy operative. The first time each objective marker is searched by friendly operatives, you score 1 VP. So if you go up to an objective marker and you search it, you get 1. So you can get like a minimum of 3 VP just by searching all 3 objectives. At the end of the battle, for each of your retrieved mission markers friendly operatives are carrying, specifically carrying, you score 1 VP. So if you've gone search them and you're now carrying that token and away you go, you get to the end of the game, you can potentially get your full 6 via that. An interesting one, probably quite good for if you think you're a durable kind of team, then this might be quite good to be able to keep that those markers on your guy. But yeah, an interesting one for that one. And finally, we're into flank. So flank. Now, this is really important. You need to reveal this as a strategic gambit. So you can't forget to do this. And if you do it like halfway through a turning point, it's gonna be really hard to like backtrack all of the activations to make it fair on your opponent. So remember, you have to do this straight away. Divide the kill zone into two flanks, left and right, essentially left and right of the board. And you guys have probably seen this already on Warcom, but I'll just go through it anyway. By drawing a imaginary line that's just like the centre line, except it runs from the centre of each player's kill zone edge. An operative contests a flank while both wholly within it and within their opponent's territory. Friendly operatives contest a flank if the total APL of those contesting it is greater than enemy operatives. So you need to be wholly within your flank and within your opponent's territory. So if you're towing the line, as far as I'm aware, you're gonna, and you're not towing the centre line, you're wholly within, you're going to be able to contest this. Cool. And this is saying that essentially orange have got 3 operatives here, grey have got 2 operatives there, orange is going to win it. But annoyingly, they haven't put one like on the centre line to show you that you could be within, but not wholly within your opponent's territory. Wholly within a flank, within territory is the key difference. I'm just going to ham on there. Victory points. After you reveal this op at the end of each turning point after the first, for each flank friendly operatives control, you score 1 VP. If friendly operatives also controlled that flank at the end of the previous turning point, excluding the first, you score 2 VP instead. You cannot score more than 2 VP from this op per turning point. So, fundamentally, turning point 1, you're not going to be able to get anything. Turning point 2, you need to control both the left flank and the right flank for you to get 2 VP. For then turning point 3, you just need to control one of those flanks to get 2, and then having controlled it previously on the turn before, and turning point 4, control that same flank again to be able to get 1, or both flanks to be able to get 2 if you mess it up somehow. That are the Tac Ops. Generically, I'll make just a quick point at the end of this video, but I'll go into a Patreon thing about what I think about it, and I'll release that out a little bit later for everyone else, but I'll keep this one relatively quick. As I said, I think these are good for Horde players. It seems to be much, much better if you have an activation advantage, a lot of these Tac Ops. So if you have the ability to, wait out your opponent and then score later on, then I think you're in a really good place to be able to score some points. I think there are some good Tac Ops for elites. Generically, they seem way more balanced between them. There's no like plant beacons equivalent that I've seen straight away that I just think is going to be the best option. But also everything seems to be a bit lower scoring. So I think things like Kill Op are going to be way more impactful than people thought they were previously. And it's going to probably change the way that we play the game quite fundamentally, I would suggest. So that was Approved Ops 2025. As I said, if you're looking at buying this and you want to get it slightly cheaper, highly recommend that you get yourself one of the discount codes below, or affiliate links below, sorry, so you can get it a little bit cheaper. And if you want to find somewhere to put it, and you want to put it in like a Crossfire Games box like this, where it fits nice and perfectly into the gap, then I suggest that you buy one of these, and if you use the code TPT24, you're going to save yourself 10% doing that as well. So descriptions for all that stuff is all in the descriptions below. Hopefully that's been useful. If you did find it useful, please give it a like, please subscribe, and I'll be putting out more content to do with the Approved Ops 2025, Death Watch, and the new Canoptic Circle team as well. So stand by to get all those videos. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Hopefully it's been helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.
That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan, this has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.